Welcome to our Law Excellence unique initiative, Current Affairs for Beginners. Let's start our today's session. Before starting our today's session, first let us see answers for the questions from a previous video. The first question is, which of the following statements about the Financial Action Task Force established in 1989 by G7 is incorrect? It is an intergovernmental policy making body. Yes, this is an intergovernmental organization that was established to make policies related to money laundering as well as terrorist financing. So its mandates cover setting international standards for combating money laundering and terrorist financing. Yes, it is this Financial Action Task Force which will set standards for the countries to combat money laundering and terrorist financing. The next statement is, it does not deal with proliferation of weapons of mass destruction which are dealt by the UNSC, United Nations Security Council, and multilateral export control regimes. This is the incorrect statement because while we are discussing about Financial Action Task Force, we have seen that this FATF will respond to the new and emerging threats like proliferation financing, which is used for promoting proliferation, that is spread of nuclear, chemical and biological weapons. So this Financial Action Task Force will look into even these things. So this statement is correct here because it is given, it does not deal with it. The next statement is, it works to identify national level vulnerabilities with the aim of protecting international financial system from misuse. Yes, this statement is correct because we can say this with the grey list and blacklist which we have seen that day, which will include the countries which were not having efficient money laundering and terrorist financing rules. So the answer here is C. The next question is, the Paris Agreement on Climate Change is considered as a milestone in global climate cooperation. Which of the following is or are the key features of the agreement? Developed countries will not be held responsible for their historical emissions. The first statement is incorrect because it is the developed countries who were historically responsible for the present environmental problems. So they were held responsible for their historical emissions. All nations will have equal responsibility and obligation in addressing climate change irrespective of their economic standing. Even this statement is incorrect because here this follows a principle known as common but differential responsibilities, as it is like a continuation for the first statement because developed countries are the countries which were responsible for major environmental problems and major emissions. So as they contributed most to the environmental problems, here they will have to take a leading role in environmental protection. Yes, all the countries should take sustainable development actions. They should take development actions, but the developed countries will have to take leading role in environmental protection, and they should support the developing countries with finance and technology in their sustainable development efforts. So the second statement is also incorrect. As both are incorrect, the answer here is D, none. The next question is, which of the following are the aims of International Labour Organization? It works to promote rights at work, encourage decent employment opportunities for both men and women, and enhance social protection for all, strengthen dialogue in handling work-related issues. Yes, all the four are the aims of International Labour Organization. So the answer here is D, 1, 2, 3 and 4. The next question is, which of the following is or are can be the factor or factors for climate change? Continental drifts, variation in the Earth's orbit, volcanic activity, greenhouse gases, atmospheric aerosols. Here we can say this variation in Earth's orbit, Earth's tilt, volcanic activity were the natural reasons. Even continental drift is a natural reason for climate change, whereas this greenhouse gases and atmospheric aerosols were the anthropogenic or human causes for climate change. So as all the five are correct, the answer here is D. Now let's start our today's session. As we didn't do our video on 4th, that is on Saturday, so I'm covering some of the important topics even from Saturday's paper. So these are all the articles that we are going to cover in our today's video. And these are the topics that we picked from those articles to cover today. Our first article is not keeping record of prenatal tests is criminal, says Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has said that it is criminal if the medical records by obstetricians and gynecologists were not maintained for prenatal checkups, and it has suggested to suspend their medical license indefinitely according to the PCPNDT Act, that is Prenatal Diagnostic Techniques Prohibition of Sex Selection Act of 1994. So from the prelims point of view, this article comes under this Indian polity and governance, and in case of mains it comes under GS1 under the topic of Indian society, under the topic of poverty and developmental issues, and also it comes under role of women and women's organizations, and in GS2 it comes under issues related to development and management of social sector or services relating to health and issues relating to poverty and hunger. So in the exam point of view, in this article there is mention of a legislation, that is the PCPNDT Act of 1994, Preconception and Prenatal Diagnostics Techniques Prohibition of Sex Selection Act of 1994. Now let's see about this PCPNDT Act. This act was enacted in 1994 in order to prohibit prenatal diagnostic techniques, prenatal diagnostic techniques for determining the sex of the fetus, which is leading to female feticide. What is meant by female feticide? It is a process of finding out the sex of the fetus and undergoing abortion if it is a female. That is known as female feticide. So in order to curb that female feticide, this act was enacted to prohibit the techniques which will help in determining the sex of the fetus. So under this act, if a medical practitioner will not maintain or keep proper records of the patients, then the medical practitioner can be sent to jail for up to 3 years if there are any anomalies in the paperwork and for not keeping the records of the patients. The next article is don't terminate GSP benefits to India. Our Indian government is asking the US government, which has decided to withdraw the benefits of GSP which India is enjoying till now. In case of prelims, this article comes under economic and social development, and in case of mains, this article comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of international relations, and the subtopic here is effect of policies and politics of developed and developing countries on India's interests. So for us, from the prelims point of view, we should know what is this GSP that is mentioned here. GSP program is known as Generalized System of Preferences. GSP means Generalized System of Preferences. This is the program of US government. If we look into the basic concept of the GSP, what will happen here is there will be two set of countries. One is the developed country and the other country is developing country. These developed countries were also known as donor countries, whereas these developing countries are the beneficiary countries. Here under this program, these donor countries, what they will do is they will allow their market for these developing countries to make use of this market for growing their economy. To put it simply, the developing countries can have access to the donor markets, the developed countries markets with reduced tariffs or zero tariffs for certain goods. So here these beneficiary countries will have an opportunity to get access to foreign markets, and they can compete with the domestic players of the developed countries, because here they are getting reduced tariffs or zero tariffs. They are getting benefits here so that they can compete with the domestic producers. The next article is RBI imposes fines on PPIs for violating norms. The Reserve Bank of India has imposed penalties on 5 prepaid payment instruments for violating the guidelines. So in case of prelims, this article comes under this economic and social development, and in case of mains it comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of economy, and also in case of technology, and it also comes under science and technology development and their applications. So from the prelims point of view, we should know about these PPIs that were mentioned in this article. What are these PPIs? Prepaid payment instruments. What are these prepaid payment instruments? Prepaid payment instruments are the ones which will facilitate purchase of goods and services against the value that is stored on that instruments. To put it simply, these prepaid payment instruments are nothing but our debit cards, credit cards or cash, anything which is used to pay for the goods and services that were purchased by the person. And these prepaid payment instruments, they were generally issued in the form of smart cards, mobile wallets, paper vouchers, internet accounts or wallets, internet banking. In India, these prepaid payment instruments are regulated by the Reserve Bank of India. And here these PPIs are classified into 3 categories. One is closed system of prepaid payment instruments. The other one is semi-closed and open type of prepaid payment instruments. Then what are these closed type of prepaid payment instruments? These are generally issued by businesses or organizations to purchase their own products. For example, if we see this Delhi Metro card, if you have this Metro card, you can go and purchase only in Metro. So it is a closed type of prepaid payment instruments, and these instruments will not permit cash withdrawal. Using this Metro card, you cannot withdraw cash. Next thing is semi-closed. What are these semi-closed prepaid payment instruments? These semi-closed payment instruments can be, these are redeemable at a group of identified establishments or stores. Here only in this Metro we can use this closed type of card, whereas the semi-closed, this can be used at a group of already fixed stores. There you can go and use this particular card. For example, let us take Sodexo cards. And even these cards will not permit cash withdrawal. If you have a Sodexo card, you can go and have, these are like coupons. You can go and get food from KFC or McDonald's, whichever is registered under this Sodexo card. Only some identified group of stores will be allowing to accept these Sodexo cards to provide their services or goods to the customer, whoever who is holding this Sodexo card. Next, open type of payment instruments. These can be used for purchasing goods and services, and they will provide us with the option of withdrawing the cash using this open type of prepaid payment instruments. They are nothing but our debit cards and credit cards. The next article is Asia Pacific to grow 5.7% this year, says ADB. According to Asian Development Bank, Asia Pacific region is projected to grow at 5.7% in 2019. In case of prelims, this article comes under current events of national and international importance, and it also comes under economic development. And in case of mains, it comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of Indian economy, growth and development. And in case of GS2, it comes under international relations under the subtopic of important international institutions, agencies, their structure and mandate. So from the prelims point of view, we should know about an organization, international institute that is mentioned here, which is ADB, Asian Development Bank. Asian Development Bank is a regional development bank that is established in 1966 and it is headquartered in Manila of Philippines. This regional development bank is established with an aim to promote social as well as economic development in Asia. As we said, it is a regional development bank. It works to promote social and economic development in Asia. And this has at present 67 members, of which 48 are from within this Asia and the Pacific, and 19 members were from outside this Asia Pacific region. Here in this Asian Development Bank, the major contributors are Japan and US, who are having the largest portion of shares in the Asian Development Bank, and this is followed by China, and India is in the fourth place. India is the fourth largest shareholder and it is followed by Australia. And this ADB is also an official United Nations observer. The next article is services to take up concerns on upgrade. This article is all talking about a concept known as non-functional upgradation. We will look into this, and this article comes under Indian polity and governance, and in case of mains it comes under GS2 under the topic of governmental policies and interventions for development in various sectors, and it also comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of government budgeting. Now let us see about this concept of non-functional upgradation. Let us understand this with an example. Let us say there is an IAS officer who belongs to some 1995 batch, and now this IAS officer has attained the stage of being appointed as a chief secretary, and he got appointed as a chief secretary. Then according to this non-functional upgradation, all his batchmates will also get the payment or pension, salary and pension equal to that of this IAS officer who have been appointed as chief secretary. This is designed because here, in order to make sure that others, that means his batchmates, couldn't get this promotion because of limited vacancies at the top, but they were also deserving to become a chief secretary. This concept was recommended by the 7th Pay Commission in order to make it applicable for Class A officers, who includes IPS, CAPFs, that is Central Armed Police Forces, and all central government officers including civilians in the armed forces. This is already been applicable for Group A services, and recently even the Central Armed Police Forces were also granted with this non-functional upgradation, but which is not yet given to this armed forces. So the government has announced to set up a high-level expert committee to examine the recommendations of 7th Pay Commission, Central Pay Commission, on this non-functional upgradation concept. The next article is anti-dumping duty put on saccharin. Here the Finance Ministry has imposed an anti-dumping duty on the import of saccharin from Indonesia. Saccharin is a compound that is mostly used in sugar substitute sweeteners in order to sweeten the products like drinks, candies, cookies and medicine. So now this article comes under economic and social development in case of prelims, and it also comes under the current events of national and international importance, and it in case of mains it comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of economy, and the subtopic here is effects of liberalization on the economy. So from the prelims point of view, in this article we should know about the concept of anti-dumping duty. First of all, we should know about this concept called as dumping. What is meant by dumping? Here there will be two nations. One is an exporting country and the other is an importing country. So if this exporting country will sell its goods and services at a price lower than the price at which the importing nation will sell the same goods and services within its domestic market. For example, let us say that here in case of India is an importing country and China is an exporting country, and China, if it sells a pen, for example let us say a pen, and in India this pen costs around 20 rupees, and if the exported product is costing only around 15 rupees, which is less than the price that is sold in India. So that practice is known as dumping. This is done in order to increase their market share in the foreign market by weeding out the competition affecting the domestic market of the importing country. Or if they were selling the product at a lower cost in their own country. For example, let us say they were selling this product at 18 rupees in their country but selling the same product for 15 rupees in the importing country, and also lesser than the value of the product in the importing country. Then that concept is known as dumping. Then what is this anti-dumping duty? This is a protection measure. Here we are saying that in India also the same pens were being produced by the domestic producers who belongs to India, and they were selling it at 20 rupees. Now a new market player has come up from some other country with a lower cost and affecting their business. Then to avoid this, the government can impose a tariff on the products that were being imported, and that measure is known as anti-dumping duty in order to protect its domestic industry. And this is imposed under the multilateral World Trade Organization regime, and this duty will vary from one product to the other. In India, this anti-dumping duty will be recommended by the Union Ministry of Commerce, that is with the help of the Directorate General of Anti-Dumping and Allied Duties, and it will be imposed by the Union Finance Ministry. That is why here you can see the Union Finance Ministry has imposed anti-dumping duty on saccharin. It will be recommended by Ministry of Commerce but imposed by Finance Ministry. The next article is Talking Fair Trade in Delhi. Here, India is going to host the second mini-ministerial meet of World Trade Organization, that is on May 13th and 14th of 2019. So, this entire article is talking about what will be the discussions in that, what should be in that mini-ministerial meet. So, this article comes under current events of national and international importance, whereas in case of mains it comes under international trade and its impact, and in case of GS paper 2 it comes under important international institutes. So in this article there is mention of two important international institutions. One is World Trade Organization and the other one is Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Let us see about these two. First, let us see about this World Trade Organization. This is the only global international organization that deals with the rules of trade between nations, and its goal is to ensure that trade flows smoothly and freely as possible among the nations across the globe. The primary purpose of this World Trade Organization is to open trade for the benefit of all. Is the primary purpose of this World Trade Organization, which is the global international organization that deals with the rules of trade between nations, how a trade should happen. So it will derive a framework of rules. Then this World Trade Organization has 160 members representing 98% of the world trade, and over 20 countries were seeking to join this World Trade Organization. This will function as a global system which provides trade rules, and it will act as a forum for negotiating trade agreements, and it settles trade disputes between its members, and it supports the needs of the developing countries. So it will act as a dispute settlement body also, and it will act as a forum for negotiating the trade agreements between the nations. So all the major decisions that were taken by WTO member governments will be either by ministers, who will usually meet at least every 2 years, that is through ministerial conference, which is the decision making body in this World Trade Organization. All the major decisions will be taken by the member governments, ministers in the ministerial conferences. And the General Council is the top day-to-day decision making body. This will meet a lot of times in every year in Geneva. And what are the reports that were published by World Trade Organization is important. It publishes World Trade Report, World Trade Statistical Review, and it will publish an annual report regarding, it summarizes the World Trade Organization's activities, and it provides us a World Trade Outlook indicator in order to provide real-time information on trends in the global trade. The next thing is OECD, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, which is an international economic organization that is established in 1961, and its secretariat is in Paris, and it has 35 members. It is established with an aim to stimulate economic progress as well as global trade. This organization was established to look into the economic progress and world trade issues, and its members are committed to democracy and the market economy. Most of its members are high income economies with very high human development index, and these are who are regarded as developed countries. Is India a member of this OECD? No, India is not a member of OECD. The next article is Seeking and Seeing Parallels Does Not Undermine Science. This entire article is about recently the scientists have found the first ever image of a black hole. In case of prelims, it comes under the topic of general science, and in case of mains, it comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of science and technology and awareness in the fields of IT, space, robotics, etc. So now, from the prelims point of view, we should know about this black hole. Let us see about this. Black hole is an object in the space which will have a strong gravitational pull, so that even light cannot escape from this gravitational pull. Because no light can escape, it is black and invisible. And these black holes are of two types. One is a supermassive black hole, and the other one is stellar black hole. What is the difference between these two? Supermassive. This is the black hole which is found at the center of galaxies. At the center of galaxies, the supermassive black holes will be found, and it is very heavier, and it is million times heavier than the sun. Even our Milky Way galaxy also has a black hole at its center, and that is known as Sagittarius A, which is a massive black hole at the center of our galaxy. Next, we should also know about this stellar black hole. What is this? This type of black holes will be formed by compression of the collapse of large star. When a large star collapses, it will form as a stellar black hole. And let us try to understand some of the terms related to this black hole. One is event horizon and the other one is singularity. The boundary at the edge of this black hole is called as this event horizon, and it is the point of no return any light or matter which crosses this boundary will be sucked back into the black hole. And the center of this black hole is known as singularity, where the gravity will be infinitely strong, which will not allow anything to escape. The next article is skim oversaw testing of tactical weapons. The North Korea has conducted strike drills violating the United Nations resolutions. So in case of prelims, this article comes under current events of national and international importance, whereas in case of mains, it comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of awareness in the fields of IT, space and science and technology and their applications. So from the prelims point of view, in this article there is mention of a missile defense system which is known as Terminal High Altitude Area Defense THAAD missile system. It is an anti-ballistic missile defense system that is developed by the United States in order to shoot down short, medium and intermediate range ballistic missiles in their terminal phase. This is an anti-ballistic missile defense system that is developed by US to shoot down short, medium and intermediate range ballistic missiles that were in their terminal. US and South Korea, they have agreed to deploy these THAAD missile systems to counter the threat of missile launches by North Korea. Now let's see today's prelims questions. With reference to anti-dumping duty, select the correct statement from below. And the next question is, consider the following statements with regard to the prepaid payment instrument sector. Try to answer these questions and post your answers in the comment box. In our next video, we'll see answers for these questions, and the notes for this video will be available by tomorrow morning in the description below. Thank you.